On today's episode of Victory Formation, we're going to be talking college football win totals and giving you best bets for every team in the ACC this season. Let's roll. What's up, sports fans? My name is Chris, and you are now watching Victory Formation. We are a daily football betting show that covers both college football and the NFL. Today is Wednesday, July 12th, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about ACC season win totals, and I'm going to be offering some best bets for this year and giving you some leans on some teams in the ACC as well. Before we get into the plays, though, if you haven't already smashed the like button, please go ahead and do so now. And if you guys are new around here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got some great things cooking up in the summer months. We're on a steady climb to 700 subscribers, which is phenomenal. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any great content. Now, for the sake of time, let's just go through this list alphabetically, starting with the Boston College Eagles. The Boston College Eagles enter this season with a season win total sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over at odds of minus 125. Look, the offensive production for the Boston College Eagles can't get any worse than it was last year. They are relying on a sophomore quarterback in Emmett Morehead to lead the offense, and they do have to replace, basically all the production from last season. The offensive line, that's a work in progress as well, and if they can't, pass block for Emmett Morehead or create some holes for the running game to get going, which was one of the worst in the nation last year as well. Keep the defenses honest. The Boston College Eagles are going to be in for a long season. Defensively, they return just 6 starters from their unit last year that gave up 30.3 points per game. So I'm not exactly sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe experience will help them, better the numbers this year. But I'm not buying it. If we look at their schedule, I see 4 guaranteed losses, 4 guaranteed wins, and they're going to have to win, either 2 games against the following opponents just to get to that 6-win mark. We're talking Virginia, Army, Syracuse, and Virginia Tech. I'm not sure exactly where 2 wins come from those games, so I'm going to go under 5.5 wins for the Boston College Eagles at odds of plus 100. Next up, we have the Clemson Tigers, and they enter this season with a win total of 10.5, shaded to the under at odds of minus 170. Look, this is a Clemson Tiger program that's won 11 or more games in 5 of their last 6 seasons, with the lone blemish being last year they won 10 games. This year they're going to have to rely on a relatively unknown quarterback in Cade Klubnik. He's going to go as far as he can. If he can take the next step, the Tigers will definitely flourish this season. If he can limit turnovers and be a playmaker when needed to, the Tigers will be in great shape. If he can't, it could be a long season down there in Clemson. They do have, great running backs to rely on in Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, and they do return 8 starters from a defensive unit that was one of the top ranked units in the country. If we look at their schedule, it's pretty much straightforward with just tricky trips against FSU and Notre Dame on the card. But I'm willing to bank on Dabo Swinney getting his players up for this season in essentially a make or break season for Cade Klubnik under center. I'm going to take the plus money here at plus 140 with the over 10.5 wins. Next up, we have the Duke Blue Devils, who enter this season with a win total of 6.5, shaded to the over at odds of minus 140. Look, everything basically went right for Duke last year. They had a great season coming out party under the tutelage of Riley Leonard under center, and he accounted for 33 total touchdowns last year, 20 through the air, 13 on the ground, including 700 rushing yards. If he can take the next step forward, Duke will be in great shape, but they have, issues on the offensive line. It's definitely, they need to replace 3 of the starters from last season. And simply put, have they peaked already? This year, they have a very tricky schedule with the likes of Notre Dame, FSU, UNC, Pittsburgh. They have a very tough schedule to navigate, and I'm not exactly sure they get to 7 wins. I do believe they are a bowl team, but I think they finish at 6-6 at best. Give me the under 6.5 wins here for the Duke Blue Devils at minus 140. Next on the docket, we have the Florida State Seminoles. They enter this season with a win total of 9.5, shaded to the over at odds of minus 140. Look, this is one of the sexy sleeper pick teams this year to win the national championship. They have one of the best quarterbacks in college football in Jordan Travis, and they're going to go as far as he takes them. He had a great season last year, and if he can take the next step to elevate his game, the Florida State Seminoles will be in great shape to possibly win the ACC and get into the college football playoffs for the first time in its existence. They do return a bulk of the offensive production from last year, and they return 8 starters from a defense that ranked T20 in terms of scoring defense. And with a very manageable schedule, they have just 2 tricky games on the card, opening against LSU at a neutral ground in Orlando, and they have to face Clemson as well in Week 4. I do believe the Seminoles are set up well for success this season. I'm going to take a shot on the over here, 9.5 wins at odds of minus 140. Next up is the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and they have a season win total of 4.5 coming into this year, shaded to the under at odds of -140. Look, they returned some key starters on both sides of the football, but basically they did nothing well last year, and I'm not expecting a major, jump in production on both sides of the football. They have a very tough schedule this year, and if I had to bet this team, I would go with the under. I think this is a 3 or 4 win football team, so give me the under at odds of -140. Next up, we have the Louisville Cardinals. They entered this season with a win total of 7.5, shaded to the over at odds of -125. Look, this is going to be the first year under head coach Jeff Brom. He does have some familiarity with his quarterback in Jack Plummer, but they have to return basically all offensive production from the wide receiving core. They do have a stable workhorse running back in Jawar Jordan who could possibly lead the way and be that cowbell that the Louisville Cardinals desperately need on offense. But I'm not exactly sure how far he can take them, in this day and age in a passing league. And defensively, they should be, solid. They return 6 starters from the unit that was T11 in scoring and top 40 in terms of total defense. But given their schedule, if we look at it, they have some tricky matches, after week 4, where they have to go to, they play Notre Dame, they play NC State, and they play Pitt. And I'm not exactly sure, how they can get to 8 wins this season. I think this total's right on. It's either 7-5 or 8-4. I'm going to pass on the Louisville Cardinals. Next up, we have the Miami Hurricanes, and they entered this season with a win total of 7.5, shaded to the under at odds of -150. Look, there was major hype surrounding this program last year with Mario Cristobal coming into the fray. Tyler Van Dyke's production was, solid the year before. But last year, his production dipped. The Miami Hurricanes just flat out shit the bed to a 5-7 finish. And this year, they have to return a bunch of key starters. They have just 3 returning starters on offense, 5 on defense. So where are we going to get the points from this season? They do have a ton of turnover in terms of the coaching staff as well, with both coordinators being new to the program. So I'm just not buying the Miami Hurricanes this year. I don't think they're an 8-win team. I'm going to take them on the under 7.5 season win total at odds of -150. Next up, we have the North Carolina Tar Heels, and they entered this season with a win total of 8.5, shaded to the under at odds of -125. Look, the return of Drake May under center for the Tar Heels is definitely a morale booster. They did lose some key weapons around them, but they got good transfer pieces, to fill the void. But they're only going to go as far as their defense takes them. They were ranked 101st as a unit last year in scoring defense, which is just abominable. And if they don't shore up that unit with 7 returning starters, I'd like to think experience will play a role in, getting better on that side of the football. I don't think the Tar Heels are going to be a force to be reckoned with once again. They will get their points. But if they score 40, they're going to give up 48. That's just the kind of defense they had last season. They do have, a very manageable schedule, if I do say so myself. But they have early tests against South Carolina, and they have early tests against Pitt. But the middle of it is smooth sailing until they reach, the Clemson and NC State portion of it toward the end of the season. I see this team being an 8-win team. I'm going to take the under here at odds of -125. Next up, we have the North Carolina State Wolfpack, and they entered this season with a season win total of 6.5, shaded to the over at odds of -125. Look, this is a team that's going to rely on their defense. They were a top 10 defense last season. They returned key starters at all major positions this year. So a duplicate season will be in the works for North Carolina State. Offensively, they have a transfer quarterback in Brennan Armstrong. They do have some pieces around him. And if they can continue to win their home games, they've won 16 of the last 17 home games. Their toughest home games are against Clemson and Notre Dame this year. If they can, shock the world in one of those games and win one, they definitely can get to their season win total of 7 wins this season. I'm going to take a shot with their over 6.5 wins at odds of -125 on the heels of their strong defense. Next up, we have the Pitt Panthers, and they entered this season with a win total of 6.5, shaded to the over at odds of -155. Look, for this team, depth and experience is the name of the game. They have a great transfer quarterback in Phil Jurkovich. He's coming over from Boston College. They have, weapons around him that can make plays. Defensively, they figure to be one of the better units in the country again this season. But what I don't like about this team is that the ACC divisions are no more. They do have a tricky schedule, and I'm not exactly sure how they get to 7 wins this year, considering they have to play the likes of Cincy, UNC, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Florida State all this season. That definitely is a gauntlet of teams to go through. So I'm going to take a shot on the under here at a great plus money price. Next up, we have the Syracuse Orange, and they enter this season with a season win total of 6.5, shaded to the under at odds of -130. Look, the only way this Syracuse team gets to 7 wins is that they absolutely win these games versus Colgate, versus Western Michigan, versus Army, versus Virginia, and versus Boston College. And then they have to upset one of the following teams: Clemson, UNC, FSU, Pitt, or Wake Forest to get to that 7-win mark. I'm not exactly sure they get there, despite returning a great quarterback in Garrett Schroeder and some key pieces on the defensive side of things. I'm not buying them. I think they're a bold team, but at 6 wins at best. Give me the under here at odds of minus 130. Next up is the Virginia Cavaliers, and they enter this season with a win total of 3.5, shaded to the over at odds of minus 125. Look, there's nothing much to like about this Virginia Cavalier team. They just returned 3 starters on the offensive side of the football, and they were atrocious on that side last year, so I'm not exactly sure where their points are coming from. They do return 8 starters from a defense that was, decent at times last year. So if they can gain experience from that and, better that unit, they might be able to win, a few ball games, relatively low scoring, 17-14, 17-10, something along those lines. But in an ACC with some stacked offenses, I'm not exactly sure where they get 4 wins from. I'm going to take a shot with the under 3.5 here at odds of minus 125. Up on the card is the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They enter this season with a win total of 6.5, shaded to the under at odds of minus 180. Look, this is a lot of juice to be shading to the under, but exactly where are these points coming from? They have to start a quarterback in Mitch Griffiths that has just 33 pass attempts in 3 seasons with the program. And simply put, he doesn't have exactly, who's who of receivers around him to make plays. It's going to be tough to score points in the ACC with an offense that's, basically inexperienced. And if they don't win the turnover battle every game, by a wide margin, Wake Forest is not going to win very many football games this year. Give me the under. It's heavily juiced, but give me the under 6.5 here at odds of minus 180. And the final team we have for you is the Virginia Tech Hokies. They come into this season with a win total of 5.5, shaded to the under at odds of minus 140. Look, this is another terrible Virginia team, but under the second-year tutelage of Brent Pry, I'm willing to bank on them making some steady progress. They do have a solid quarterback under center in terms of Grant Wells, and if he has enough time to make some plays in the pocket, they do have some playmakers on the outside to put up some points and win some ball games. But I'm not exactly sure they are a 7-win team. I'm going to take a chance with just them getting to the bowling portion, and we're going to bank on them winning 6 games this season. Give me the over 5.5 wins for the Hokies this year. That wraps up this episode of Victory Formation. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comment section who you guys are rolling with on the season win totals in the ACC. And if you guys are new around here, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any great content we got moving forward. And last but not least, smash the like button. If we could break 50 likes on this video, that'd be phenomenal. The next episode of Victory Formation will be out on July 19th, and we'll be talking about Big Ten season win totals. Until next time,